Hello everyone, Happy New Year. I'm Cantor Jeremy and I want to welcome you all back with another Beth Radham video Dvar Torah. Over the winter holidays, I had thought of a fantastic Dvar Torah that I was very excited to share with you for this video. It was about how much we used to take for granted being able to go traveling and exploring the world during our vacation time, as we're also reminded just a little bit how perilous and significant it was that the tribe of Israel uprooted themselves from Canaan, the land God had promised them, and resettled in Egypt, which is how our parsha begins this week, setting up the entire story of the Exodus. It really was going to be a great Dvar Torah. But we need to talk about what happened on Wednesday in Washington, D.C. I think that many of the news organizations and pundits have actually been doing a fairly decent job of helping us process it, not just for the American citizens, but for us as Canadians too, and also as thinking and caring citizens of the world. But I also think that as Jews, we must process what happened using a Jewish lens. And I don't mind sharing with you that putting my thoughts together for this video was good for my own sanity and peace of mind. To recap quickly, as the United States Congress met to certify the results of the Electoral College, which is a mere formality before a new president can be sworn into office, the current U.S. president incited rioters to storm the Capitol building with weapons that included guns, bombs, Molotov cocktails, and gas, whereupon they broke into the Senate chambers, various government offices, and committed acts of vandalism and theft, and claiming 4 lives in the process. I could talk at length about how I feel that Donald Trump is directly responsible, how the rioters should be prosecuted, how Trump supporters in the House and the Senate should be ashamed of themselves for what they have helped bring about how the police behaved, and frankly, how embarrassing the whole episode is, or at least should be, to all Americans, and as an American citizen, I include myself in that category as well. And if there is an American out there who isn't embarrassed, they should simply be shown this picture for as long as it takes until the shame finally sets in. But as I said, there are a lot of people on TV covering those issues quite well. So what does the Jewish voice have to add to the cacophony of opinions, accusations, and punditry that is consuming public discourse today? Jewish tradition has, over its thousands of years of history, always had a respect for the power of words. And I mean that not because it is our words that have the power to motivate or to incite, to love or to hate or to enlighten or to confuse, but rather Jewish people have always held that words themselves are in fact holy. If you were to ask me, what is a Jewish blessing, I'd begin by teaching about the basic construct that we use, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. We could talk at length about what those words mean, but those aren't actually the words used for Jewish blessings, aren't they? I've changed 2 of them. Why? Because Jews take blessings seriously. And if we're not making an appropriate blessing, we don't invoke the actual words. We do this because we believe that these words are sacred and shouldn't be used callously. So too, when we engage in prayer, our words are sacred. We take them seriously. The words of Torah are sacred, words that our wisest sages of the last couple thousand years have spent their lifetimes analyzing and exploring. We refer to the entire Hebrew language as Lashon Kodesh, the holy tongue. And Jews have also learned that when we hear words like, Jews will not replace us, and dirty Jew, we hear them with deadly seriousness, which means that in a very dark and strange way, these words are sacred to us too. The words that directly led to what we saw on Wednesday were plain for us all to see and hear. At a rally a few moments before the incident, Donald Trump directly said, and I quote, "And we fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, we won't have a country anymore." And that was only moments before telling the crowd to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol. Those words were sacred, and the world should have taken them seriously. Each time he told his followers not to believe the election results, the words should have been taken seriously. Each time he villainized an opponent, every time he made a bigoted statement, all the way back to calling Mexican immigrants rapists, when it all began 5 years ago, the world should have taken his words seriously. Without universal repudiation, the meaning of those words took hold. They were allowed to fester and cause a rot in the fabric of our modern society that has gone far beyond the borders of the U.S. This week in Shul, we read Parshat Shmalt, the beginning of the book of Exodus. In the opening verses, we read about the 70 members of the Israelite clan that immigrated to Egypt, where their brother Joseph, second in command of the Pharaoh, could help provide for them during the famine. By verse 8, years had already gone by and the entire generation of Joseph had passed on. The Israelite nation had meanwhile grown significantly in number, at which point the Torah tells us that a new Pharaoh arose over Egypt, one who did not know Joseph. For fear that the Israelites might one day become so powerful as to challenge the Egyptians, Pharaoh ordered that the Israelites be enslaved. Or did he? According to the Torah, Pharaoh actually said, "Hava nitchakma lo," let us deal shrewdly with them, referring to the Israelites. Pharaoh made no specific mention of slavery. So how exactly did it happen that the Israelites suddenly became enslaved? You would think that if there was an edict from the Pharaoh, that it might actually be in the Torah, and that all Israelites were suddenly committed to slavery, that perhaps there would even be some kind of rebellion or some escapees. Ramban, the medieval commentator, sheds some light on this question. The Egyptian people, says Ramban, would not have let Pharaoh commit gratuitous violence against the Israelites. Instead, Pharaoh said that they should act cleverly so that the Israelites would not sense that they were acting out of enmity towards them. I think it makes perfect sense. You can't enslave a whole population right away. It takes time. Freedoms have to be taken away slowly, their humanity stripped away carefully. Meanwhile, Pharaoh also has to desensitize the Egyptians, teach them that they have been treated unfairly, and that there is a group of people who are the cause for all their problems. They need to learn the words to demonize and dehumanize the Israelites. Jews today know all too well exactly how this process changes a society and where it can lead. It does seem that the incident on Wednesday, which we would even call a coup attempt, has rattled Americans. Perhaps even enough to help many more people to see through the barrage of lies, misinformation, and propaganda that has been a large part of the American diet for the last 5 years, as it has slowly eroded our sense of honor and decency and our respect for each other. If so, we can only hope that, as the source of that influence wanes in power, we can all open a new chapter together and reinvest our words with the holiness that they deserve. Shabbat Shalom.